Oh, dangerous stuff. Hello, good evening and welcome. You've just entered the arena. I'm Michael Coren, and first of all, a big thank you to all of those lovely people at St. Catherine's Brock University who were so generous to me last night. Now, my golly, this really, really should not be a story, and I wish we didn't have to discuss it again, but we do, because robocalls is still being exploited out there by those with an obsession with and phobia about the Conservatives and evil Stephen Harper. If only the political establishment and the chattering classes were as sensible and considerate as the Canadian people. Because the mass response to this so-called scandal has been one of drowning indifference. Eager pollsters have rushed to the electorate to fulfill their hopes and dreams that the possibility of a few people maybe making dumb phone calls to maybe some Liberal voters has done irreparable damage to the Harper government. The verdict? Nobody cares. We've better things to do, and we rather like the way the Tories have maintained a stable economy and a strong, respected foreign policy. Meaning that the people are not as stupid as Liberals and leftists like to think. You know, it's always been one of the great ironies of politics that those who claim to love people, in fact, rather despise them. Canadians have also realised that 30,000 complaints about false calls during an election do not suddenly materialise in a few days when most people have long forgotten the boring old election and are busy paying bills, raising families, being normal. What we now know is that the moaning calls were being encouraged and orchestrated, often by radical organisations based in the United States. So the real scandal here seems to be that foreign interests assume they can influence Canadian politics, which is unacceptable Yankee imperialism. Let's organise a few demonstrations, or maybe do some occupying. Now, something else which came to light last week was a particularly dirty campaign in Guelph. Now, Guelph is the epicentre and origin of the entire mess. What is so often ignored is that the Liberals won this riding easily. So if there were any misleading calls in Guelph, they were pretty pointless, weren't they? What we do know happened was that large numbers of people in Guelph received recorded phone calls from someone describing herself as a local resident. We played this last week, making a personal attack on Marty Burke, the Tory candidate. Now, let's just recap what this call was really about. It said that if Marty Burke was elected MP, he would make all abortion illegal and take away a woman's right to choose. Well, actually, all Burke has said is that he thinks abortion should be debated, and he's probably supported by half the country in this. The call is purposely misleading and dishonest and designed solely to have people vote against the Conservatives. Now, we have no idea who was behind the calls, but, well, it certainly wasn't the Tories, was it? Now, Burke, by the way, you know, is a typically evil and nasty Conservative. He served more than 2 decades in the military, defending this country around the world, and then defending democracy, equality and human rights in extremely dangerous areas as a peacekeeper. He's now a respected and experienced Air Canada pilot. In other words, he's massively responsible, brave, worldly, experienced. The Liberal MP for Guelph, Frank Valerioti, heard of him? He's a long-time politician. Such propaganda calls are typical, as are assorted lies and personal attacks on Tory candidates coming from declared opponents as well as mainstream voices in the consensus media. The reason you may not have heard about them is that the victims have generally taken the higher ground and tend to accept democratic results and not cry that their sacred right to govern has been lost. Look, don't be, how shall I put this, robotic on this one. Think for yourselves. Hey, just think.